What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today, unfortunately, we're going to be going over some new 49ers injuries. Matt, it seems like we're doing this video weekly at this point. As we're recording this earlier today, it was announced that 49ers running back Raheem Mostert and center Ben Garland will be placed on injured reserve. Matt, obviously that Mostert injury hurts the most. He's got that high ankle sprain, and he's out at least 3 weeks. Both of these guys are. And there are obviously some other injuries too. We found out today that Weston Richburg had shoulder surgery, and he's definitely not going to be back as soon as the team anticipated. What are just your initial thoughts on these injuries? How big of a blow is this to the team?
Yeah, it's really weird. I've heard high ankle sprain a lot, and it seems like the team has a ton of lower body injuries. They came out and said, last night when Trent Williams got hurt, it was like, oh, it's his head. And then they came out and said he's dealing with an ankle thing too. And it's just like, how many lower body injuries is the team going to have? And to me, that kind of reflects on the strength and conditioning group and the flexibility and, lack thereof of the players. When you're seeing lower body soft tissue injuries as much as they have, there's some disconnect there, because when we hear about how they go about their week, Monday seems like it's a review / film day. Tuesday it seems like they don't do much. Wednesday through Friday are their practice days, and then Saturday is like their walkthrough / travel day. So it doesn't seem like it's a ton of workload. And I know that the 49ers don't do live tackling in practice. But yeah, these soft tissue injuries are really weird. Mostert hurts, but that gives the opportunity to see a little more of JaMycal Hasty, provided that, Kyle really reviews the film and finds out that cargo plane is, he needs a long runway to get any takeoff speed. So yeah, I don't know. Tevin Coleman should be coming back at some point. I don't know if that's going to be this week or if it's going to be next week. I didn't hear anything about him, but he's going to be eligible to come off the IR. That doesn't really excite me, but it's important that the 49ers perform regardless of Raheem Mostert. I know it's a big injury and that one sucks. And the Ben Garland one sucks because then you're not, you have to rearrange your offensive line. But in particular, Raheem Mostert, we saw that the 49ers only scored 3 points in the second half after he left. So they can't just have offensive stall or not be able to do, their game plan because Raheem Mostert isn't there. I understand that he's a good back and, he's the best back that they have, but you got to see what you have in Hasty beyond late fourth quarter carries, because he shows that he's shifty, he's quick, he looks like he's got good burst and can get to the hole. And I don't know if he can catch out of the backfield. That might be a thing where you bring in McKinnon as a third down back and kind of use Hasty as that first and second down back to get to the outside. But, you can't just let these injuries. Again, it's hard because there have been a lot of them, but injuries aren't an excuse to not go out and perform your game plan. They've done it without Nick Bosa. They've had good games without Nick Bosa where they've not given up a ton of points. Even last night was a pretty good defensive effort, all things considered. So really, there's no excuse. They scored 36 points with Nick Mullins in one game. So, you never know what guy's going down at what time. But when you do have injuries, you have to have that next man up mentality, and you can't just use those as an excuse to get down on yourself and not do the things you need to do. And we're all tired of hearing about the injuries, I'm sure. It's just, it's part of the game. And I think they really do need to look back into that strength and conditioning staff that they just hired to replace the terrible one prior. So I don't know if there's something in the water in Santa Clara or what, but it's not good enough, frankly. The players just aren't, they're not being kept healthy. And our own Scott Gillian even said maybe it's a fatigue management thing, and that could be true too. Whatever it is, they got to figure it out and figure it out quick, because this is way too many injuries for a team. This is almost Chargers level bad.
Yeah, it's bad. And speaking of Scott, he kind of said regarding Jaquiski Tartt going into the week that he kind of felt, from what he said, not comfortable earlier in the week, and yet he didn't have a day off reportedly. So that kind of played into him getting pulled out of the game due to that groin injury. So it could be fatigue. Like you said, too, I kind of defer to you in these medical situations because I almost know nothing about it. But from the outsider's perspective, it's just like something is going on. And you talk about firing their medical staff, and you did mention they cleared house last year, I think, and then previous
well, not
to
the
that,
medical staff, the strength and conditioning.
strength and conditioning,
So like whatever treatment they're getting, or like their their warm up or their cool downs or their recovery or whatever, something there is not effective to see this many injuries.
Because I remember going back a few years, and it could even be going back to the Harbaugh years, they had a guy, Mark Uyami, who the team loved. The players swore by him, and there weren't as many of these injuries with him, and he was there for a long time. And then it was almost as soon as he left, the new staffs that were brought in, it just, we kept seeing these injuries happen, and it's so frustrating because you take a guy like Raheem Mostert, right? The team struggled in the running game without him. It was so apparent when he came back how much better he not only made this entire offense, but specifically the running game. The offensive line looked better. The drives were moving. And just because of that, the team values Raheem Mostert so much. And then even we saw it Sunday night, once he got pulled out with that high ankle sprain, drive stalled. Nobody could get anything. And I will admit, like you said, Hasty, when he came in, that was a spark that this team needed to get something going. But I think, the big injury here, aside from Mostert, is obviously the center. And it hurts so much because, look, Weston Richburg had the shoulder surgery that we didn't know about, and now he's going to be out a longer period of time than we originally planned. But Ben Garland, who was already the 49ers' second-string center, is now going on injured reserve. So that means that the 49ers are down to their third string, which was a guy that they signed, I think, 3-4 weeks ago, Haranis Skrasu or something like that. Don't check me on that. But he played a little bit Sunday night, but it's like you do not want your third-string center, who is a very important
and he played against the Arizona Cardinals, and he played well.
That's right. Yeah.
Again, how long until maybe he doesn't play well? And I get what you're saying, especially in this scheme. The center helps call out protections, and there's a rapport between him and Jimmy Garoppolo that needs to be established. And you never want to shuffle your line. It's unfortunate when you have to do that. It's bad enough when you got to do like a guard or something like that, but center especially is really bad. And yeah, it's unfortunate to hear about Weston Richburg. I think at this point, again, he's going to be another one of those guys where it's just like reliability just isn't there, and they're going to need to move on. So this is what I've been saying, maybe in the draft, if Jimmy plays up to the standards that we expect of him and we don't have to go get a quarterback round one, then maybe we, go get a corner round one, and then we get somebody like Creed Humphrey to play center in round two, early round two or whatever the case may be. There are going to be options there, and it's really time to start exploring those rather than, plugging more picks and assets into the defensive line. I think we really need to take a look at, the offensive line and kind of protecting Jimmy Garoppolo on top of the obvious need for the secondary. So yeah, Weston Richburg being out, that sucks. I think we've kind of figured out what he's going to end up being. Ben Garland's been a solid player this year. I think he's done a pretty good job. Yeah, it's not ideal, but hopefully Garasu can come in and kind of, pick up where they left off, and there won't be too much degradation there on the offensive line. But you never know. That definitely is a key one. The other one too is the mystery ankle injury of Trent Williams. So he's a guy that gets out and rumbles and stumbles and bumbles and knocks people on their butts. And, he just demolishes people. So if that's a lingering injury, and again, these ankles and these, I asked in our chat earlier, I was like, who tapes these dudes up that they're like, their ankles are just getting like, who's picking these cleats, man? It's not good. So whatever it is, they need to figure it out quick. Cause it's just, it's too many injuries for one team.
Yeah, it's a lot to overcome. So, like you said, figure it out, do something, because next week they're playing on turf again, and we cannot have, that on top of these fatigue injuries. It's just going to be too much for this team. But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment below. Which of these injuries do you think hurts the 49ers the most?
And go ahead and click the bell, turn on your notifications so you never miss a video. Until next time, go Niners.